Hey there folks, my name is Mr. Matthew Larson. We're going to be talking about the 8-point arch. Now the 8-point arch is important because it allows us to understand how a story is going to go and develop. Now this is important of not just stories we are going to read, but also stories you can see portrayed in film. We'll look at some examples of both of these in the class. Here we go, diving right on in. First thing you need to understand is the stasis. Now the stasis is simply the point where you meet the character, or you can see the apostrophe or the brackets around the S, meeting the character. This is when you're going to meet the main character, the protagonist of the story. Frequently you'll meet the antagonist as well, the one who's causing the conflict, and other main characters are going to be introduced right here in the stasis. Second thing you need to understand is the trigger. Now the trigger is what goes wrong. This is the incident that's going to lead the main character in the story, the protagonist, to do what they're doing. This is going to kind of set them on their way. It's going to trigger the rest of the events of the story. So this is where things are going. We already know who's involved in the story. Now we know that something is going to be happening. This is going to be the point of change. Now, we get the quest. Now, the quest is when the protagonist, the main character of the story, is seeking something. This is going to be the bulk of the story. So they're physically, if you think back to like Shrek, you initially have Shrek, you're in his swamp, that's the stasis, and then he's got to go find the princess. That's going to be the trigger, and now he's going to literally go on his quest to go find Princess Fiona. This is the bulk of the story, so the vast majority of your story is going to be the quest. This is when the protagonist is really seeking something. So I'm going to go find the princess. I'm going to achieve this obstacle. I'm going to overcome this or this or this, all the different things that are taking place right through there. Then you got a surprise. A surprise is important because it solidifies the content or the conflict. It enhances the development of the characters, so it makes the character a lot more dynamic, a lot more enjoyable to read about. They're not this boring, just bleh of a person. They're going to have something to them. It's also going to really make the conflict that's going to be addressed that much more impactful and important. So it's all kind of there to build up to the conflict, the climax. Now, the surprise can make the protagonist question themselves. It can also make them fully commit to their obstacle. So sometimes it's something like, am I doing the right thing? Why am I doing this? Is this really what I want to do? Or it can make them fully commit of like, yep, this is exactly what I need to do. Here's how I am going to move this forward. We also have the critical point. Now, the critical point is how the protagonist responds to their surprise, right? So do they fight? Are they saying, yes, we will go and I will not stop? Or do I run? Do I go the opposite direction and avoid this altogether? This is really an important point of the story because it's really where the protagonist, that main character, determines what is going to happen. Then we get the climax. The climax is the most significant point of the story. So it's the most significant point of the story for the protagonist, and it is frequently near the end of the story. Again, you've got all the quest that's going to make up the vast majority of the story. The climax is going to be that point towards the end where the protagonist is really facing their challenge head on and going forward in that. Then we get a reversal. Now the reversal is not reversal of the character, it's a reversal of the obstacle. So the obstacle that was faced at the start is starting to go away. So no longer does, for example in Shrek, no longer does Shrek have to find the princess. He's already found the princess. He's already defeated all the obstacles. In some stories, that's why it says sometimes in bold and all caps, sometimes this can make the story or the challenge that they're facing can become even worse, and that's usually in a more depressing story. Usually, though, this is when the obstacle is going to shift. So if you're trying to defeat the evil king and everyone's supporting the evil king and you're fighting back to overcome that, by this point, the people are starting to agree and fight back as well. Again, this is kind of when you can see how the outcome's going to be. You can kind of really make a pretty good prediction about what's going to be happening. And then we get the resolution. This is where balance is achieved. There is no more conflict in the story. The situation is now addressed and it is good to go. You can see right here citations for where this comes from. I took this information and kind of just turned it around a little bit and explained it for you right through here. If you have any questions or comments, please do feel free to reach out. Otherwise, I will see you later. Good luck.